Mr. Cox.
Mr. Schwarzinger.
Hi, it's Schwarzinger, not Schwarzenegger. A lot of people ask me, no, I'm not related to Arnold.
No.
But I will be back. As we are now. Reggie, thanks for having me back here in Milan at the Labocosmetica or Mafra offices and headquarters. So this is the one you looked most forward to, or the one that you really want to get off your heart.
Yes.
Because it's a topic that, it is controversial in itself. It's probably one of the most controversial ones.
If not the most controversial.
In the sense that there is a lot of bullshit going on.
Yes.
There's another Schwarzenegger quote. Bullshit.
There's
a lot of bullshit going on with manufacturers. There's a lot of bullshit going on with professional detailers, promising customers stuff. Let's talk about durability. The title itself is rather neutral. We tried to keep it neutral this time. Let's just talk about durability because it needs to be talked. It is one of the topics where the most nonsense has been created in an historical way within our industry. It grew from something that probably wasn't an issue when it started and has now become an issue because I think, I will talk later about what I think is the root cause of the issue, but let's just start with it and let's talk about durability. Anything you want to get off your chest from the start?
Let me close the door. Because the volume of my voice might overachieve the people that are working in the same building.
Yeah, we are in Marco's office. Marco Mattioli is the owner and CEO of Mafra and Labocosmetica. We have the honor of being in his office this time. Because your studio, the regular place where we normally do the podcasts, is taken right now for a training course.
And the other one still needs to be built.
Exactly.
The dedicated podcast studio that has promised to me here in above the marketing apartment. It's a huge lunchroom that has way too much space that is not being used. And one corner, just putting one extra wall makes it a completely secluded area that we can design into a very nice looking studio for visualization. And that is going to be the dedicated podcast studio next to the amazing.
So you will have a nicer background in the future. Reggie. Yes. Funny example, I just realized, listen, the leather chair we're sitting in is when I rub it against the foot of the table here, you hear that? That is from bad leather conditioners, usually. Because when there are certain ingredients in it, that's exactly what they create. You know the convertibles where the seats are so far back, they rub against the plastic walls and do that sound? Yeah. Because of bad leather conditioners.
Good to know.
That will be a podcast episode in the future when 100%. We talk about leather. That will be a topic there. 100%. Funny example.
Also an important subject. But this one
is more important. I will admit.
It is deep to my heart. There is a lot of promises. There is, regardless when we look at it, the promises made by the paint protection. The world is now knowing as ceramic coating is so much based out of thin air, golden dreams, fake results, promises, years, mileage, and there is, for me, literally, I have no proof so far, nothing, or even from our side. When it comes down to duration, when it comes down to the promises made, the things that have been promised by ceramic coatings that has been translated through to the customers, the prices that people ask to put on a ceramic coating on the car. Oh my God, how dare you ask these prices for unconfirmed results that you have never seen before?
That's a good point. I'm just making a note for myself for one aspect of this whole topic we need to talk about. Let's try to go through it in a methodological way.
Do it. If you take control of this situation, you might help me put on the brakes when I start to ramble, or this turns into a rant from almost an hour.
Let's just try to build it in a natural way. Okay. So, durability first. What is it we talk about? We talk about durability of protective products. So sealants, waxes, spray sealants, quick dealers, and so on. Yes. And the durability portion is what manufacturers promise you on how long those products will last.
Yes.
Be it in, they say, a month or a year number. They say a quick detailer will last 2 months, or a ceramic coating will last 3 years. Be it in mileage or kilometers. That's not many manufacturers who do that, but some do. They state the coating will last 30,000 kilometers, for example. Yep. And that's what we talk about, those claims or those promises by the manufacturers. So let's maybe start that the viewers get a better idea on why that subject is so emotional for you and why it is so controversial. Let's talk about what influences durability first. What is it that dictates how long a protective product works? What are some aspects you would say are the most important one?
You mean that are responsible for the effective duration of the coating stated by the manufacturer, or the handling of the detailer applying the protection?
All of it, because all of it, and that's the point, has an effect.
Now let's first say, okay, let's just throw some shit out there and say, how did they get to this duration?
Yeah.
That's the first thing. I cannot speak about anybody else except us, because I know what happens here.
Yeah.
I know what happens here. I know how we got to the averages that we would. When we say years versus kilometers.
So you mean, how do manufacturers come up with those numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
I know a couple of ways that they use. I know a couple of ways that they use.
Yeah.
We use mostly real-life testing.
Okay.
We use mostly real-life testing in washing, so test washing. Or wash cycles.
Okay. So what a wash cycle is, you apply a ceramic coating in the way you recommend.
Yep.
Then you let it cure, and then you wash over it with what type of shampoo?
A very strong alkaline shampoo.
Okay.
A very strong caustic alkaline shampoo.
Okay.
Diluted to a certain level from a certain manufacturer that has a certain aggressiveness that is more brutal than conventional washing. And if you take a 3 pH, if you take pH neutral washing, you will not generate the same stress. But we know what happens outside of the real world, where not everybody or most of the people are not doing the right thing to maintain a ceramic coating, or they go to a car wash, or they are using stuff that is not very good for a ceramic coating.
Okay.
And this is not a fixed fact. The washing technique I use, I do an application to see. My degreasing is front-back, so the marring that I create of the degreasing, because the degreasing I do is extreme. I do extreme degrease. You have seen my example of degreasing.
With degreasing, you mean
the
prep work before applying the ceramic coating? Panel wipes.
The panel wipe.
IPAs.
Panel wipe, the IPAs.
Yeah, I have seen you. You spend more time than anyone else, I know.
And it is only to take out the variable that anything left behind that can interfere with the performance of the ceramic. Any oil, any residue, any polymer from a previous applied protection.
Fingerprints, whatever it is.
Whatever. So the base should be the most neutral, most sterile surface to apply the ceramic in the most perfect conditions. Then start stress washing it to give it an idea how many wash cycles it can take in a higher stress level. So not pH neutral. So there is no reason for me to test pH neutral. That is one. After we have confirmed that it can handle the stress testing, during that washing I'm using a wool wash mitt. So I'm not using the correct washing method, because I know in 80% of the time people don't do what we do. The customers don't do what we do.
To be fair, that's controversial in itself. Which wash media is the gentlest one?
And
is it wool? Is it microfiber? Is it a sponge?
I can tell you that this one is not gentle. This will leave marks.
Okay.
And the marks I make a wash cycle only from left to right. And the reason for that is that I need to see what damage did I create during the washing. So my degreasing is up-down. So the slurs or the scratches or the marring that happens is up-down, and then I have the ones from the left to the right. So I know exactly which one is which.
You see, and that is proper testing. Thinking about those things. You cannot just go ahead and say something created scratches. You need to know where these scratches come from, and a simple method of doing that, because I also do that in my testing, is wiping in one direction and one direction only, or washing in one direction.
Just to make sure that what is happening, that I know that I am the one that made those. I made them deliberately. And that will give me also the way, like I said, it's a stress test washing, so it's only chemical plus washing, so there's no dirt, no whatsoever. So we are only testing the scratch resistance, or the scratch reduction is better to say it, because there is no scratch resistance. It's a reducing agent inside of the coating that helps you create less most likely washing scratches. So I got stress for the amount of washes. I got the beading after this. I see the breaking point. I see the sheeting point. I see the amount of wash cycles I can do, and I see the damage created from those wash cycles. That's my base knowledge. After I've confirmed all these things, we send out the coating to our different dealers to different regions of the world. The most important for me is the combination of Sweden. Why Sweden, you say? Well, Sweden has very nice roads, very well, but they also have very harsh winters, and they drive the spike tires.
Yes.
The spike tires break up the asphalt, breaking free the bitumen, the asphalt itself, the liquid, the tar, whatever. That's, for them, they do pre-wash a different way around. They start with tar and glue remover first, and then follow up with 3pH.
Exactly.
So
if you want to have good knowledge of which tar removers work, talk to Swedes or Finnish people.
Holy crap.
Please do.
The car turns brown.
They know.
Completely brown from the tar. The tar is dissolved. After that, they do 3pH pre-wash and everything.
They know.
Then we have Saudi Arabia. Completely different conditions, completely different contamination, literally sandblasting the car. There is...
Exactly. Sand,
PPF is leading in those countries because there's the only thing that really helps against those fine dust sandstorms that are driving through.
So sand, for the listeners and the viewers, sand has two issues. It's abrasive in itself when it's like sandblasting the car.
Literally.
And because sand is a mineral and has also silica in it, which is the same material as ceramic coatings are made of. There's a very simple chemical relationship and term, which is the same removes the same. Is it the correct translation?
Let's say that the...
Gleiches löst Gleiches an, that's the German term for it.
It's definitely going to screw it up. Okay, the most beautiful example I saw was the BMW Continental GT. And the grill in the front, literally the corner was been sandblasted off. The chrome was gone. And the car was not driving crazy mileage.
That's the mechanical part. What I meant is silica in the sand and silica in the ceramic coating, add water to it, and the silica in the sand will start to eat into the coating or dissolve the coating itself.
Don't forget the heat, because the heat itself...
The heat
add
heat to that.
Holy crap. Sealants don't work very well. They start to turn into a sticky sticker in extreme heat. And the same goes for the other way around. When sealants become extremely cold, they lose their beading properties because the molecules almost don't move anymore. Now then we have the Asian continent, where it goes to either China or India or heavy metropolitan areas in combination with smog and everything that's falling from the sky, to Philippines, where there's the monsoon. And all that data that comes back from that, we will see strong points and we will see weak points. We will see that it is better in the desert, less good in the winter. We see metropolitan areas, and then we try to adapt small. We are talking about fine-tuning something to get a general overview of a similar performance guided to those countries. Now we took, say it only lasts 10,000 kilometers in Saudi Arabia, it lasts 20,000 kilometers in China, and it lasts 17,000 kilometers. We will take that average, because it's not a scientific fact. The years is not a scientific fact. The mileage is not a scientific fact. The possibility of achieving this mileage in this year is possible, yes. However, no year is the same, no weather is the same every year. 1 year more rain, 1 year less rain, more sun, less sun. You can name it. It's a general guideline of what a ceramic could do over that amount of time. And we are now 4 years underway with the series that we are going to release this year. The first two coming out very soon, HPC 2.0 and HPC Pro.
Those are your coatings,
That's coatings. One for the consumer, one for the professional accredited detail, and then after that we will release some more that have then been finalized through testing or everything, and then we know for sure, okay, this is the coating. It's for us also important to know that the maintenance system still works, so that 3pH is still as effective with the new ones as it is with the old ones. And then we take the general feedback, and then I start the most difficult part of the job, where I do it wrong, where I don't degrease properly, where I have to try to find the mistakes, the high spots, the things that people should not be doing but still do. And after that, then we start the certification, and then we start the regulation, the labeling, the packaging, and then we launch the product. And as I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have the HPC, STC, HPC combination is a possible 90,000 kilometers or 6 years. 90,000.
Wow.
That's more as Blindo. And everybody says, how's that possible? Back then, when Blindo was ready, the farthest we have gone was 75,000 kilometers.
Wow.
Some people went over it, but we don't count them because they are like Remco van Wijk, our Dutch importer. He washes the car thoroughly. He knows exactly what he's doing. So he overachieved this mileage very easily. I believe he came close to 100,000 kilometers.
Wow.
But at that moment, we did not have enough data to say we can achieve 100,000 kilometers or 6.5 years. Now, I'll tell you honestly, the mileage for me is easier achievable than the years. The years, I have never seen a Labocosmetica coating. I have never seen. One guy wrote me, because I said, I've never seen a coating that had performed for that long. One guy, Bram Verkruijs is his name, showed me his girlfriend's car that only had SCC, and that should then for 4 years or 60,000 kilometers. But the trick was he only washed it twice a year. And that's it. And it was not performing all over the place, but that was the only coating semi-performing on some spots, not on the spots, because for me the side of the car, performance on the side of the car is 10,000 times more important than the hood.
Good point.
These joke videos about my ceramic is on the car for 1 year and you show me the hood, you show the least beating part of the car.
Good point. We will talk about that in a minute. Good point.
The side of the car is there where the coating needs to be applied.
Good point.
During testing, if I find out that some of my testers have applied a quick detailer, the test is destroyed. If you have applied a ceramic shampoo, the test is destroyed. We test singularly by itself only the coating and the 3pH together.
Yeah.
That is what you buy a ceramic coating for. If you have to use toppers, we use toppers for parts where the ceramic is going to die first. It's the side of the car, it's the back of the car. That's where you see that the ceramics gets damaged, starts losing its water beating capabilities, and that is the part where you say, okay, now after this amount of time, I'm going to put a topping on. Because it would be absolutely fucking insane to buy a ceramic coating for 1,000, then buy 700 products to put on every week for the last 5 years.
That's a note I took. We will definitely talk about that one. So you said a lot now. Let's try to dissect that and bring some structure to that topic. You talked about how do manufacturers come up with the numbers. You talked about what influences durability. You talked about indicators for durability. Let's go through those. So we started with how do manufacturers come up with the numbers. You said how you do that. Yeah. So in general, you have the real-world testing, so that's the beauty of it. You are the guy who tests the coatings for Labocosmetica together with the lab guys and together with your team. That's cool because we actually can talk with someone who does the real-world testing. So that's one way, real-world testing, applying the ceramic coating to a car and then see how long it lasts in the real world. One thing, you also mentioned wash cycle tests. That's something a lot of manufacturers do, really a lot of them, maybe even all of them. They apply a protective product, they wash it then, and then they come up with some sort of calculation where they say the average person washes his car every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And if a coating lasts 5 washes, that's 5 washes times 2 weeks, which comes to 10 weeks, which is between, I hate math, 2 and 3 months, right? Yeah. 2.5 months. Yeah. That's one way in which I know for a fact some manufacturers come up with their durability. They don't do real-world testing. No. They don't do anything else. They just do wash cycle testing. That's one way that it is done out there. Then there's also the chemical resistancy tests, which means it's not only wash cycles, it is throwing chemistry on those protective products and see how well do they cope with it. That's also done. I
don't know the number out of my head, but I know the ISO and the ASTM test for the resistance where they use the acid box. Yeah. They do, it's a small box with plates in it. You have the plates in a certain angle. Mm-hmm. There has to be a certain angle. Yeah. There's a certain temperature inside, a certain humidity, and there's a salt solution with a certain percentage of salt inside that's being sprayed onto the surface in combination with the oxygen, generating the lifetime of the corrosion resistance, because then they're not looking at the beating and everything, they're looking at the corrosion resistance when
I see.
So they can take a bare naked piece of metal, put the coating on, and then start, or they dip it into acid, but the corrosion test inside of the ASTM and the ISO is generally the same. but it's only a salt solution. So this is also not eligible to say, because it lasts in the acid box for 10 days, 10 days equals 10 months. So it's a multiplier, and multiplier. 1 day in that box is 1 month in real life.
Yeah.
But we are not taking in effect anything that's coming from the road onto the car. It's the same. My wash cycle testing is pure for wash damage and chemical resistant by itself. Because the shampoo I'm using is not more aggressive than the shit that is on the road in combination with the sand.
Yep.
That what's coming off the road is a mixture of chemicals that is far more aggressive, far more caustic, far more... Anybody that's ever put 1 drop of brake oil fluid on their paint knows what I'm talking about. If you talk about an aggressive corrosive oil, brake fluid can literally melt off your paint.
And I think that's one of the main issues with this whole topic. You just said it. There is no standardization. In other industries or in other areas where we are not talking about coatings for cars or protective products for cars, there is some sort of standardization where manufacturers know I have to do exactly that, and then I can come up with a number that is comparable over different brands and products. Yeah. In the automotive industry, for paint protection, there is no such standardization. No. And that's a very good point, because the wash cycle test of one manufacturer can lead to completely different results than the wash cycle tests of another manufacturer.
Absolutely.
Based on which soap do they use? Is it pH neutral? Is it alkaline? Is it acidic? Does it have good gliding properties, good cleaning properties? What is in there? What is not in there? The weather conditions they have, which type of test panel do they apply to, what type of paint, and so on. So there's no standardization, and that's already one issue we have, because the 10 weeks that one manufacturer promises versus the 10 weeks another promises can lead to completely different results in the real world.
Absolutely.
That's already one very, very major issue that is one of the problems we have with that durability topic.
So I'll tell them that we take either, for us, the average year kilometer is a little bit deviant than the automotive industry. Anybody that used to buy a Kia had a 7-year warranty or 100,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
It was either or. It was either 7 years driving the car with a warranty, or you drive 1 year, 100,000 kilometers, and the warranty is also gone.
Exactly.
And we took, the automotive industry often takes 1 year, 20,000. For the coating, we took 1 year or 15,000.
Okay.
That's our generalization of what it is
possible to achieve. And we will talk about how it is measured and what are the differences there. So that's one thing. How do manufacturers come up with those numbers? We know now. Real-world testing, washing cycles, chemistry. You can do real-world testing in 2 different ways. I'm just thinking about it. Actually putting it on cars which are driving around, or you apply it to test panels and then place the test panels outside. That's also some sort of real-world testing.
Definitely some, because those cars are also there. And the data that comes from that, the results that come from that, not being driving, so we don't have the wind to take off any water or whatever, so you also get a very good idea, especially about the etching. The etching is very interesting when we do the panel testing and we put them in the sun or outside. We leave them for a couple of months.
Water spotting, mineral deposits, and so on. So you already know that there are different ways of how the manufacturers come up with the numbers, and there's no standardization. That's already an issue in itself, but let's just skip that for a minute. And also, I just thought about it, if you come up with a number based on those tests, what do you state on the label and the bottles? Is it the maximum number you achieved in testing, or is it the average number? Is it the minimum number? Already a variable there.
Now, like I said,
already a variable.
The duration in Sweden will not be the same as the duration in Saudi Arabia, as the duration in China or in everything.
We will talk about that.
Every single part has, some will last longer, some will last less. So what we will say is the average of what could be possible in the most ideal conditions using the 3 pH in the most intervallic way there is.
You use average. Other manufacturers may use the max or the minimum. So already another variable there. So let's now talk about those variables. What is it that influences durability? You already mentioned it. It is definitely mileage. Definitely. Because one person can drive 500 kilometers per year when it is a garage queen, and another person can drive 100,000 kilometers. So that's why it is already difficult when a manufacturer states a time measurement of 1 year, because so much variance there. So it can be mileage. What else does influence durability? What I personally found in my testing is one of the major influences is the car kept in a garage or parked outside.
Yeah,
a huge difference in durability.
Night and day. Literally night and day difference. Exposure to and the amount of exposure lost by putting it inside.
And I have seen from the same product a difference of a product lasting 1 year and a product lasting 1 month. Because my sister, where I test some of the products, she parks in a garage at her home and at work. So it's almost every time in the garage. And my personal car is outside all the time. And there's a huge difference. So that makes a difference. Then, as you said, washing, how many times do you wash it? With what do you wash it? Is it alkaline, pH neutral? Is it acidic? Which brand of soap do you use? Huge difference.
Absolutely.
Do you use a pre-wash? Do you not use a pre-wash? What type of pre-wash is it? Nature and weather. What is it that your car comes in contact with? Are you parked under a tree? Then the tree loses something on your car, which can have an influence there.
Train station.
Train station, industrial fallout, stuff like that. The prep work. How do you prep the car or the panels where you test?
But I think that's the biggest one. From everything
one
that
of
I've
the
seen,
biggest ones.
For me, the prep, if the prep is not done right, the rest of everything that's on the bottle is gone.
And there's so much going into prep work. Is it just washed? Is it decontaminated? Is it clayed? Is it polished? Is it degreased? And how it is done. That already is a can of worms that we are not going to open.
I'm not going to mention the brand, but I found a polish that is resistant against Veritas.
You're not going to mention it?
I'm not going to mention it.
Because the name of the podcast is Veritas.
I know, I am absolutely true, but I'm not here. But this polish is resistant against Veritas. And if I found out now that it's
Veritas
resistant...
is your panel
prep, yes. Very potent, if not really, really potent to
one of the most potent,
strong enough to dissolve ceramic coatings.
Yeah.
Early stage ceramic coatings is possible to dissolve. And I found a polish that is 100% resistant against Veritas.
I tell you something, if I will do some testing and if I find out the same things about that polish, I will say it. I will say it.
Yeah, because I will also give you the solution.
Because
the solution is even more stupid. And you think, how the fuck is... Oh, sorry. How is this working? But if you have...
It's a popular one.
If you already have anything other than the paint or the substrate that the manufacturer stated you put it on, if you have anything other, surfactants, sealants, polymers, grease, oil, or mineral, it does not matter, you will never achieve.
Yep.
The curing time you will never achieve, the duration you will never achieve, the beating, the performance, and the nothing.
Yep.
And
so prep work, a huge factor. Then paint types.
Oh,
can have a huge influence. I have seen cases of ceramic coatings and many ceramic coatings of different brands not sticking to a certain paint type.
True.
And then you use another coating from another manufacturer and that suddenly works.
True. Very true. Same as polishes sometimes don't work on a certain paint, so do ceramic coatings also.
Because as much as we said there's no standardization in testing those things, there is to some degree standardization in how cars are painted, but only to some degree.
True.
There still are differences.
We have in our Blindo testing, so I will tell you because the hardness is one of the things that keeps popping up into the necessity of a coating. That is
different topic for a different episode.
Different topic.
Yep.
But say the hardness, we found that if we take a different type of paint, and we took then an example for an Infinity car that had such a soft paint, that the added hardness with Blindo was 3. And as you can read in the flyer, it says 9H. That's true because it's been tested on bare aluminum, and bare aluminum has a base hardness of 6. Adding 3 hardnesses, so the pencil 9H was then 9H confirmed. But when we put it on the Infinity that had a base hardness of 4, it turned into 7.
Yeah.
Knowing this, that the harder substrate with the coating can have a longer duration than the softer substrate with the same coating.
Yep.
My car outside, the Phaeton is soft paint. We call sticky paint, a little bit flexible. there's no coating that's going to last 5 years on that car.
Exactly.
Because the paint itself, you cannot build a building on a piece of on a pillow. You need a good foundation, and a good foundation adds
and that's it. The paint type already has an influence. That's, but complete side note, that's why primers exist. That's why two-step ceramic coatings exist, where you first apply a ceramic coating, which is supposed to create an even and comparable surface.
Yeah,
Side note.
A barrier to take in the damage that you normally create. That's what a base coat should do. Not the gloss, everything. I know, because we always talk about these subjective things like gloss, slickness, smell, all these things you cannot prove in a lab because they are personal opinions, and then you have a ceramic coating and then people start throwing these personal opinions in their ceramic coating that doesn't do anything. The base coat is there to take in the damage that normally occurs during the use of the car.
And create an even surface, because we have different paint types. So weather, we already said. Then you mentioned it, road stuff. What is it that is on the road that lands on the car, which can, as we just said, in different countries be very different. You have that road time, bitumen in the Scandinavian countries. You have sand in the southern regions. That already has. So I hope you, the listeners and the viewers, understand that there are probably 100, let's call it 100 different influential factors influencing how long a product works. And that's before we even talk about how do we even indicate if a product is durable or not? Because what we all do is we look at the surface where we applied the coating and we look, is there beading left or not? And I question, is that the right way of testing it and watching it? Because that's what we all do. Is it? Because we both know that when a coating is not beading anymore, it can still be there.
Definitely.
So is that the right indicator?
The beads won't last. There's no coating in the world that's going to bead until the end of the duration. It is eventually going to turn into a sheet. The main purpose of the coating is to dry up completely without leaving any water residue behind. And if that's through beading or that's through sheeting, that's still a functioning coating. That coating can then be upgraded with the topping product, but as soon as you put on a topping product, the entire ceramic coating, maintenance and everything disappears. Because you cannot confirm any longer that if you're dealing with the topping product or you're dealing with the ceramic coating.
Exactly. Let's talk about that now, because that's one big point I have there. And it's such a... I had so many talks with people online where they said, well, that product for me lasted 12 months. And then I asked them, well, how did you maintain it? Well, I applied that topper, quick detailer, sealant every 2 months. Okay, how do you know? Because what it is that you're looking at is beading. How do you know that the beading on that surface is the topper or the coating? You don't know. No. You absolutely don't know. And that's why you cannot state any durability number for that product.
For me,
it's impossible.
You know I work here. You know I am linked to this brand physically, mentally, completely. But even me, the statements made on the bottle, every single brand lives from the sales of the product. So, because there are still no laws about what you can say and what you cannot say, and you cannot become in front of a firing squad for lying your ass off saying that your coating lasts for 8 or 9 years, you never ever take the promise from the manufacturer, ever. No. Because you are a professional detailer. You buy the ceramic coating kit from any manufacturer, including us. The state on the bottle says it's 5 years or this amount of kilometers or this amount of time. Fine, you have bought the ceramic coating. The first thing you do before you start putting it on customers' cars, you put it on your own car, your wife's car, your friend's car, whatever. You confirm that what is on the bottle is true.
For your region.
For your region, or whatever. You need to find out if that what we are saying is true, because when you start promising your customer those promises of self-healing, self-cleaning, in the mind of the customer, they don't transform into what you are seeing. The movie in their faces in their head is going, they never have to wash the car anymore. They can throw keys on the car. They can use a hammer because it's scratch resistant. All these factors, if the promise that you made about the 5 years or the 10 million kilometers and the coating fails, they are not going to blame us. They are going to blame you.
You, the detailer, you, the installer.
Yes, you put it on. You are the one that promised these things. You cannot hold us accountable for the promises that we made. You need to take in effect that the product could be having words, phrases, anything to make it more attractive to buy to you, but it's simply not true. In fact, I will tell you honestly that a very good ceramic coating in its thickest layer is going to provide a sheet of 2 to 5 microns thick. So the entire clear coat is 30 microns, so you are putting maybe 10% of the clear coat on, maybe, unmeasurable. We cannot use a paint thickness gauge.
I personally think that's nonsense, but...
2 to 5 microns is the absolute max what I have seen possible, and I can tell you Modesta is the one that can achieve it.
Yes, yes.
And then you have the sheet from the size of a bacteria, because the bacteria has 2 to 5 microns in size. So the sheet on the car is 2 to 5 microns. If you do not wash your car for 8 years, you will lose about 8 to 9 microns clear coat alone. And the proof is the sticker. You have any sticker on the back of your bumper, you remove that sticker after 2 years, there's a depth of the sticker. That means that everything around it has been sliced away, that has been downgraded. Because even in that short period of time, the paint lost that amount of microns by the paint itself. That means a coating is going to do exactly the same. Maybe a little bit faster, maybe a little bit smaller, so shorter than comparable. But in the end, the statements made on these bottles are simply not true. Simply not true. Yep. No ceramic coating in the world is going to last 8 years.
And no manufacturer in the world will reimburse you the money it takes you to apply the ceramic reapply the ceramic coating when a customer comes to you after 1 year and you promised him 10 years. No ceramic coating company will do that because they all will do the same. Yeah, well, how did you apply it? Which polish did you use? Yeah, you didn't use ours. You didn't use our panel prep. You did a mistake. It's always the same.
Yeah, it is,
and that's why Reggie said it. You are responsible for that, and that's a point I also wrote down. So we indicate the durability of a coating by seeing if it is beading or not. And you also said before, where is it beading? Is it the hood? Is it the roof? Is it the sides of the car?
Yes.
That question alone questions the whole topic of durability. Which part of the car do you indicate it? And also, you said you use different persons in different regions of the world for your real-world testing. That person alone is an influential factor because you need to make sure that you properly train that person, that person knows what they are doing, how to wash it, how to apply it, how to panel prep. So the tester alone also is an influential factor. And you now know we have 1 million factors influencing that whole durability number, which in itself explains why those numbers are just absolute nonsense.
Yeah, let's call them ballpark numbers.
Not even that. For me, they're not even an indicator. There are so many variables influencing that number that I not even look at them as an indicator. If the variance is 1 week to 1 year, because that's always when someone asks me how long does the product work, my answer is 1 day to 1 year. Because that is the variance that is there. Yeah. Because it will depend on the prep work, on the person, on what you're looking, on everything.
Yeah, we cannot predict the weather of what it's going to be. We cannot predict the amount of water that's going to fall. We cannot make the amount of birds that's going to fly over my car.
No, you can't. You simply can't. That's and as stupid as it is of manufacturers to put those claims on those bottles, it is as stupid of us consumers asking for that question. Yeah. How long does it last? The question alone is, and I'm sorry to say that, but the podcast is, the concept of our podcast is a real talk. Yeah. The question alone is stupid. I'm sorry to say it.
I've done so many and I've tested so many, and you see immediately which one does something more real. We don't need ceramic coatings that last 8 years. We need ceramic coatings that can last a good, let's say a real good 2 years. Yep. If it can last, if it still does something after 2 years, you need to freshen up. You either need to give it a little hit with a little bit of a finishing polish. For me, I know it's a dream. Any ceramic coating that's on there, for me, it doesn't matter which one it is, but it's going to make the polishing a lot easier and a lot faster. If I take the paint itself, I take an Audi paint, I spend twice, maybe 3 times as much to prepare it. After I put the ceramic coating on, the polishing is very fast. So I can cut down the cost, the price and everything, put a new top coat on, send the customer out. And the second thing is, I have never given warranty. Because the warranty for me...
please don't.
The warranty ends at the beginning of the garage door.
Yeah.
And unless I will be the person that is allowed to maintain the car in the complete duration of the ceramic coating. Any fault, any car wash trip, the guarantee is gone. And now this one I hate the most, this one pisses me off by far, is that if you take the promise that you know is now going to be the truth from a product that's costing you $60, $70 to buy, and you charge for 2 hours of work 600 euros or something because the ceramic coating promises you 9 years. You are a con artist if you do that. And you should be fucking ashamed of yourself that you are lying to your customers to wheel in that money. If you have confirmed by yourself, if I have done, I've got Sam cars from customers that drove over 40,000 kilometers.
Sam is one of your colleagues?
Sam should be there 2 years or 30,000 kilometers. Now, the 2 years, very difficult to achieve because of the variables that happen. The mileage in shorter period of time, very easy to achieve. It's easier to achieve that mileage and then overachieve the mileage that we state because you don't have the guy that does it completely. He washes the car once a month. The only thing he did was to the things that he knew was going to cause trouble, so the bug impacts in the front, long drive, bug impacts, immediately went to the SB box, rinsed them off. Didn't allow them to cook in. At the end, there was still some protein in the protein of the bug impacts inside of the coating, but the reduction was amazing.
For the English listeners, SB is a German
the self-wash
places,
box. And like if we make the one I told you about, the new version of why I almost cried, why I am for sure that's going to last, even in the hands of an idiot, it's going to last over 2 years. No, for sure. Because I tried to destroy it, I couldn't get it broken, but it was too difficult to apply because these days, everything needs to be fast, easy, simple, and cheap.
You know what you just said, con artists and over-promising. What's even worse for me is two things. You have some coating brands, and I'm not representing a brand as you do. Well, I'm a Sonex master trainer, but I'm not hired by Sonex, so I can talk about other brands. System X, Ceramic Pro, the ones who promise you or give you a warranty if you come back for a yearly service. And during that yearly service, they apply some sort of a topper, which gives the beading to the customer back. That, for me, is one of the single worst things that's happening in our industry.
I tell you, nobody knows this.
It's shameful.
If you are old enough, then now it's between 15 and 20 years ago, what we now have as sprayable sealants, the PTFE, the fluoropolymer protection, back then was the ceramic coating of that age. This is the stuff that we now have inside of the normal spray sealants. That back then was sold for 500 for treatment. It's like a sealant, so it lasted max 3 months. Wax guard, I don't know, all these crazy names. 5 months it lasted. And then every year I had to come back for a reapplication. The application in the beginning was nothing. It was it was being sold like the greatest thing. And that market literally collapsed. It imploded to itself because everybody found out that it was bullshit, we're being lied to. And I tell you, we are moving in a lightning speed direction, the same direction with the coatings.
Yes, exactly, because those manufacturers promise durabilities of 3 years, 5 years, 8 years. I've seen 10 years or lifetime warranties if you come back for the yearly service. And I mean, how stupid do they think the customers are?
Yeah, I mean, they are going to take it.
It's shocking.
The coating industry is making it very easy for the PPF industry. The coating industry is literally paving the way for the PPF industry.
Yes, and you remember what I said during the last couple of days?
It's probably going to happen because it's unrefutable evidence that is by far right now the greatest paint protection that we can.
I said, and I stand by that, the PPF industry will kill the ceramic coating industry.
There will be a couple of benchmarks that will keep their head up and they will stay around, but anything white labeled, imported, no certified, PFAS containing liquid death.
Then again, the PPF industry does the same thing. They promise durabilities for those wraps, which are realistically not achievable. But different topic.
Different topic, because now we are also I'm also deep in the PPF research.
Exactly.
How to make it, and
so the topping thing and the yearly service thing, which contradicts the whole durability thing, is one thing. The other thing is, which I find very interesting, brands which pop up from nowhere with a ceramic coating, where they promise a durability of 8 years when that company has been in existence for 1 year. How is, Reggie, explain to me, how is that possible?
I told you, they have a coating. The coating has been made. They have done something that came from the metal industry, transformed it into automotive, use an acid rain cabinet for 7 months, and 7 months equals 7 years. So it achieved, then they do the wash cycles with pH neutral. They come to 600 washes, 600 times divided to 52 if you do it every week. You have also 9 years.
So
9
it's
years,
a complete fantasy number.
Nobody has driving.
Out of nowhere.
No, I don't believe it. Unless you show the data, unless you show it, you know, we have very cool videos that we show on trainings that we don't publish online. You feel free to have these videos to see what we have done. Not so much we, but how Giacomo and Riccardo here are doing it on different paints, showing it with the pencil. Although we state that the pencil hardness test is not valid. In ISO, they retracted it. In ASTM, it's still standing. The Mitsubishi pencil set is still alive, but the coating itself cannot be tested by the use of a pencil because it has certain other capabilities. Coming also to another conclusion of the greatest bullshit that I really hate when people ask, how hard is your coating? Well,
I will write it down. We will talk about that in the future, the hardness of coating, or maybe in general, promises of ceramic coatings. Yeah. I will write that down now.
I understand that you need to have a reference to give a certain idea of what a coating can do, but doing it with a really stupid test, like if you do a stress test with only water and you achieve, you can put 100 times water on it and it still beats, is also a useless test. It becomes a test when it's reproducible by somebody else and gets the same results, and then it becomes science. So if I make a test, I do the test with the same variables and the same conditions. If I transfer this to somebody else and he has the same results, then we can slowly start to call it science, because if this test is reproducible by the same person, by a different person in different locations, but if the end results of the test come out, there is no science there, and we need to find a way to make it scientific.
Exactly. And you could be critical about all of what we just said and say, the automotive industry does the same thing with those 0 to 60 numbers, with the fuel consumption thing. You could say that, but then again, those things are standardized. Yeah. They are standardized tests where, for example, the 0 to 60 numbers, they have to do it at a certain sea level in order to make sure that those numbers are comparable. We don't have that for durability of ceramic coatings or protective products. Oh my God. We don't have that.
We come to, again, to the biggest lie of the detailing is the gloss. The gloss, you know? Yeah, this product will give insane gloss. This product gives this type of gloss.
Go back to the first episode we did.
If 3D gloss, wet gloss, man, it's shining or it's not shining. It's subjective. It is only something if you put the numbers against it. Now, I was doing I wanted to make a video what I would call the gloss wars between different colors and different paints. I was doing the testing and I have read what I need to have to do proper gloss testing. I mean, just putting the gloss meter on the car is not enough. You are not in the same region. You need to know what type of paint you are using, the amount of thickness that literally the paint has, the base calibration on polished glass. It cannot be anything else than polished glass. The deviation of the numbers from the calibration, if it's more than 0.2 points, the test is not eligible anymore because you're deviating too far from what it is. And I tested it, you have saw it yesterday. I made the polished and the unpolished. We went from, the biggest jump was from 99.6 to 100.4. 0.8 gloss points achieved by the application of a ceramic coating. Then saying the superlative word creates insane gloss might be that to the naked eye, but if you put the science to it, it was 0.8 freaking gloss.
And I would even go further as you. I would say you need to have at least 5 different gloss meters.
Exactly. Yeah. And at least, you know, this one, the one I had is very old. I told you, in the beginning of the calibration, I showed you that the 85% angle deviated more than 0.2 gloss points, made it then unusable. Exactly. So I had to recalibrate the machine, change either the black polished glass inside, then recalibrate the machine to see that we are on the same numbers, then start to test again, making sure that the varnish or the paint thickness is achieved, the certain smoothness, because the 85%, because everybody uses the 60 and the 22. 85 degrees. Sorry, the 20 degrees to 60 degrees and the 85 degrees. So the 85 degrees is straight on, the 60 degrees is like this, and the 20 degrees is the, what we like to call
shallow angle for matte paint.
The side shot. The side shot that has nothing to do with the measurement of gloss.
We are back at the topic of our first podcast. Yes. So, I mean, what does this all boil down to?
For you, for me, simple. You are the professional. You are like a doctor, like a surgeon. You are taking in a patient. It's the pride and joy of your customer. He's trusting you to treat the car with the most dedicated chemicals, respecting surfaces, substrates, duration of the car, applying a protection based on the real world,
Yeah.
the real world situation of that country at that point.
Yeah.
If you take over our generalization of every data that we took from every single country and use that as the go-to to explain to your customer that this is what the ceramic coating is doing, then already 60% of what you're doing is lying. Because what is on the information on this bottle should also help sell the bottle.
Yeah.
So the label is making the bottle is making it more attractive to buy. But if you buy a ceramic coating, you do not buy a ceramic coating because the bottle looks great. You are doing it because it's a liquid container.
Yeah.
The size and the shape of it should not matter to a professional. The content of the liquid container should matter and how it performs over time.
And your work doesn't matter.
Your customer will come back if you state the truth.
Yeah.
And if you say no warranty, you want the warranty, I wash the car, it's going to cost you this, and then you have the deal already done. The responsibility is gone.
Good point, because at the end of the day, when you just take a ceramic coating bottle and repeat what the manufacturer is promising, you're not a detailer, you're not in the service industry, you are a reseller. Yeah. That's what you are. Yeah. You are a simple reseller. And you should be more proud of yourself and your work, and you should be more. And that's a tip I always give to professional detailers when they ask, what's the best 5-year coating, because I need a 5-year coating to sell to my customers. Don't sell durability and don't base your pricing on durability numbers. Don't offer packages where you have a different price for 3-year, 5-year, and 8-year coatings. It's complete nonsense. And most importantly, when there's a new detailer in town that promises a 9-year coating, you are already out of business. Yep. Just because of a simple number that is not reproducible in the real world.
You want a good tip to make your job as a detailer a lot easier? Make sure that your customer understands that to get to a certain result, you need to do a certain thing.
Yes.
So if you take an unpolished car, you can put the ceramic coating on, it's going to look better, but it's not going to look great. You are responsible with the polishing of the car to make the substrate so smooth and shiny and glossy that the ceramic coating is going to add to that. The physical labor inside of the detail job, the things that the customer cannot do by himself or is not able to do, are the ones that you should charge, and the ceramic coating is seriously just a cherry on the top to get some extra income. But if that is the main, if you start with your application of the ceramic coating is going to be 600, customer is not going to move very much if you tell them that there also needs to be 12 hours of polishing for 600. So the ceramic coating is already forcing you to spend less money and time on the polishing, making the end result of the ceramic coating worse or diminishing because you didn't do the proper preparation for the ceramic coating because you didn't get enough money to do the preparation. Yeah. So flip it around. If you say, okay, it's too expensive, then ask the customer to bring you a clean car or what he thinks is clean. If he drives for $750 one time through the car wash, you don't have to do pre-wash, you don't have to do decontamination, you can immediately start cleaning or even start polishing. So you have more time to polish. You have more time, you can get to a better result and then use the ceramic coating as a cherry on the top. I'll tell you honestly that I give my customers the price of the coating plus 10%. So the retail price plus 10%. Plus the amount of hours that I'm having to apply. So for Sam, I take 2 hours. 2 hours, 100 euros. I had the application. So for 250 euros, I will put you on, Sam, for 2-year coating with everything completed, with the towels and everything completed. Because the ceramic coating for me is the easiest part of the detail. The degreasing, the everything, the physical work, the polishing and everything, that's what they need to pay.
That's generally, maybe that's a topic for an episode on its own. That's a huge misunderstanding within the industry and with many people starting out. You have a service business. Yeah. You are in a service industry. Your job is to talk to the customer, to find out what he wants, to make him happy, and to also say no. If a customer comes with a ceramic coating bottle and says, you please install that, and you're not convinced that that is a good coating, you have the right to say no. Yeah. Please go to another detailer. Yeah. You don't need to do every single job just because of money. It's a service industry. Your job is not to resell coatings. You're not hired by a coating company as an installer. You are in the service industry. Yeah, and that's maybe a thought process that needs to spawn in the heads of the detailers, but that's your job. It's a service, not
the people that have done
not a product.
Many things that they have done by themselves. They have done the detail, and they have promised the customer literally word for word what's on the bottle. Nobody ever became satisfied.
No.
Everybody got disappointed by the statements made by the professional, saying it's scratch resistant, waterproof, I don't know what else. Things that you did not confirm, you're just literally taking off to somebody that is selling you this, that wants you to buy this because they live from this sale, selling the products. They don't live by keeping the products in stock. No, they live by the sales. So they will say and do anything to make you buy the product. And if you transfer that marketing promising world to your customer, you're cutting your own fingers, because they are not going to call us. They never call us and say, hey, you made a shit coating. They always blame the person installed. And then you become angry at me because I made statements that are, no.
And that makes you look unprofessional. And then the customer comes and he tells you the coating didn't last, and then you start ranting about the coating company. That makes you look unprofessional. And that's the perfect transition, because I said in the beginning, let's talk about the root cause of the whole thing. Where does it come from and why does it exist? And I think the market, the detailing market, is just oversaturated and crowded with too many brands, and the brands somehow got it in their head that the only thing that they have to differentiate themselves is a single-digit number in regards to the durability claimed in years. That's the whole root cause. They think that all the products do exactly the same, and the scent doesn't matter anymore, the color doesn't matter anymore, the packaging and presentation doesn't matter anymore. The branding and what the brand means and stands for doesn't matter anymore. It's just that single-digit number on the bottle where it says 9, 8, 10, 5, 11, whatever years that's put on there. I think that's the root cause. But I don't see how that can turn out into anything good for the industry or any brand, because it's a race to the bottom. It's
exactly, that's why I'll stay to the truth. Even if Labo makes something and they say it's this amount of years and this amount of time, I'm going to assume it's a lie. And I'm going to assume it's a lie until I get close to what they are promising and saying, okay, maybe, just maybe in perfect conditions with the perfect weather and parking inside and 3 pH, this is achievable. But in my world, what I'm working and what I'm doing, I'm never going to achieve this result. I drive through 3 countries. My drives are 1,000 kilometers non-stop. Then we have a car parked here I'm now here for 7 weeks, driving 3-4 times. I'm picking him up every morning and from the hotel and bringing him away. We take a dinner. So I drive 20 kilometers a day. For the rest of the time, the car's outside. No coating in the world is going to last 5 years on that one. Even when I do everything perfect, it's not going to last. Simply. If you are in California, you are might lucky. Saying that something works in California, making no rain, no salt, no snow. You take the biggest aggressors of the ceramic coating world out of the faction, and then you have a very well-performing country in a semi-tropical area. Congratulations, you are very lucky. I wish you the best, and I wish you all the luck. But all the other people that are living in these heavy metropolitan areas with the contamination, they simply do not have that duration. They are never going to achieve that, even with perfect maintenance, with perfect everything.
I think that's, at the end of the day, that's the correct way of looking at it. In the best case scenario, those numbers are an indicator. In the best case scenario, I would go as far as saying they are a marketing tool and a marketing tool only. That's it. That's it. They mean nothing, absolutely nothing. And I also think the whole industry, and I count into that the brands and the customers, is focusing too much on the durability. It's become the single most important thing of any protective product. How long does it last? And it's not that important. I don't think it's important for you as a consumer or as a customer of a professional detailer. And what I say now, I should actually charge money for that. I should do a franchise system, but I'm giving you that idea for completely free. You as a professional detailer, think about what you do. You are putting a ceramic coating on a customer's car that's supposed to last 5, 8, or 10 years. That means you don't see that customer for 5, 8, or 10 years.
You are going to see him.
You have lost that customer.
Yeah, you are going to see him.
What you are living off, or what you should be living off is repeated income from repeated customer interaction. And what you do is you apply a product which forces you to find new customers every single time. Why don't you go ahead and rethink what you do and apply a coating or a wax or a sealant, doesn't matter, that lasts a half a year or 1 year, because what the customer wants is that fresh beading and gloss effect from a freshly applied or polished sealant or car every single time. And then he comes to you once a month, every 6 months, once a year, and you have repeated business. Stop being stupid and selling those 8 years coating, because it's, from a business perspective, it's idiotic.
I think I want to ask you, we will take a little minute to discuss this, that we can find common ground, you and me, from two different points of view, common ground, not what they can do, but what they really, really, really do. What is ceramic coating? Everything. I will make the first one.
Yeah.
With the ceramic coating, it is easier to clean my car than when I'm not ceramic coating my car. Say naked paint versus I put a ceramic coating. Am I going to be able to clean easier?
Yeah.
Is there, subjective or not, an increase of aesthetic properties?
No, not in my opinion.
So, we already have one that we need to discuss a little bit more. So for me, the gloss also is not the reason why I'm putting on a ceramic coating. Because if I polish really, really, really well, I can generate a lot more gloss than when I put a liquid piece of glass on the car. Anything from your side? Would you say this is 100% what a ceramic coating does?
Yes,
or
it lasts longer than a wax or a sealant-based product.
Okay, that's common ground. I totally agree.
More importantly, if you neglect a ceramic-coated car, you can reactivate the coating by the proper use of chemicals. You cannot do that with a wax or sealant.
Let's say if we say we have a wider fault range than with a traditional protection. We have a little bit more room if we don't do it right.
We have more leeway in terms of properly looking after the car. Yeah.
So we have the easy to clean, generated 100% from both our sides. We have the
leeway in how you care for the car once it's protected.
I will add one is that it doesn't matter so far, any ceramic coating I've ever tested made the polishing after the ceramic coating easier to get back to the original state.
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, so we have at least 3. And those 3 are also my most important ones. Yeah, but the rest, everything else.
But now I will ask you a very, very controversial question.
Sure.
Does a ceramic coating actually do more than a wax or a sealant? Because that's what I say. A ceramic coating does exactly the same thing as a wax or a sealant, but it does it for longer. And that's it. That's how I explain ceramic coatings to someone who has no idea about all of that stuff. It does exactly the same thing as a wax or a sealant, but it does it for longer. That's the only difference.
Yeah, and then
it's beading, because good modern waxes are also beading.
Definitely.
They are also keeping the car cleaner for longer. They are also making the washing simpler. They are also lasting quite a while. This coating does it longer, and that's it. That's all you should explain to a customer.
Without a serious amount of preparation, without a serious amount of possible flaws and faults that can come from a ceramic coating installation versus what a wax can do. If you forget to buff off the residue of a wax, is less problematic than when
you wash it and then you're good, probably. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It does. The coating does exactly the same thing as a good wax or sealant. It does it for longer. That's it. That's what you should tell your customers, and nothing else.
Yeah, everything else, the scratch resistance and all these things.
The hardness.
The self-healing.
Gloss, forget it.
I'm not going to show you this. Maybe if I can find a video, I had repainted my hood. I put 15 different combinations of ceramic coating on it. I had etching of water, sand, whatever. I used any chemical that we have to repair it. It was unrepairable, and at the end I used forced heat from a heat gun. Not to burn and cook up the paint, but the jet of the hot air was enough to evaporate that was there. I showed this video to Marco, and it looked like that all the ceramic coating had self-healing properties until I went to part number 16, what was control, the control piece where there was nothing on, and could do exactly the same thing. So if they state to you that a ceramic coating is self-healing from a thickness of 2 to 5 microns using a carbon brush.
Again, there's one coating brand we both know of that actually achieves that. Those 2 to 5 microns. One. All the other ones, forget it.
No.
If you want, you can calculate it on your own. Think about how much square meters a car surface has, and then calculate how much you are putting of a ceramic coating on there with a small, tiny 30 milliliter bottle. You can calculate it, and you will realize there is not a single way in the world where it actually can create thickness. It's
you know what
impossible.
we are going to do? You know what we are going to do?
impossible.
We are going to do a separate ceramic coating test.
Yeah.
We will take, it doesn't matter which one, we will take one of ours.
Yeah.
We will weigh the bottle before we start.
Yeah.
We will weigh the applicator before
Yeah.
we start, because there will be a certain amount of solvent that's going
Exactly.
to evaporate.
Yeah.
And we will weigh the towel.
Yeah.
So we are going to weigh all these things.
Yeah.
That is going to be retracted from what is actually on the car, and then we have solvents evaporating.
Yeah.
So there is still not a scientific, but we will. And then we will make the calculation of what is actually on the car, what could possibly be the thickness
It's
of the
mathematically impossible for a coating to add a micron of thickness. Forget it. Please forget it. It's impossible. Okay, now we deviated a bit. So,
yes, but it was
what was the main purpose of this episode?
Duration.
Mainly, to be honest, it was a possibility for us to give you a really good rant about something that we both think is a plague for the whole industry, and we think it should stop. It really should stop. The whole focus on durability, the way that durability is measured is wrong.
Yeah.
The way durability is dealt with is wrong. It is wrong how they put it on those bottles. We think it should stop. Reggie, one question I wrote down for you. Are there ways, or are there persons or organizations which can make that stop? I wrote down IDA or the PVD in the UK. Do you think those organizations have enough power or influence that they could make that whole thing stop?
PVD is country. They have a fantastic magazine. If you don't have it, buy it, because you are underinformed.
Yes, the Pro Detailer magazine, please. It's a fantastic magazine which talks about a lot of that stuff that we talk about. Yeah,
and it's naturally written by somebody that's naturally funny, that doesn't have to train to be funny, but he's naturally funny.
True.
It makes it's easy writing, so that's to become informed. That's not say it educated, but at least to become informed.
And we don't get a single dime for saying that.
No. It's,
I pay for those.
I love Bert.
I pay for those magazines myself. So
Ian, thank you again for giving me the last issue.
Greetings to you guys
in Florida. What was the question again? Because
is the IDA or an organization like that? Could they make that whole thing stop? Could they introduce some regulation which forces the manufacturers to be more honest and stop that whole thing with the durability?
ASTM, ASTM, ISO, and DIN are the ones that could put up a test that standardizes the. But then if you take one of the three, like I said, in ISO, the 184 coating hardness test, the pencil has been retracted because it doesn't give the hardness of the thing. You have to test on multiple substrates like paint, metal, and everything to get a base hardness. But using the pencil by itself alone is not enough. And the ASTM still says you can use the pencil, but if the coating is too smooth and the pencil doesn't get any grip, it will give the idea of a 9H pencil, because it's not hard, but the pencil simply doesn't get grip to make the scratch.
I see.
So it will it will give you a false claim that it's 9H hard. It just says that the 9H pencil does not make a scratch measurable to turn it into 9H. So in fact, we will still be going into a very subjective, based out of personal opinion, the fucking one I hate the most. 70% of the goddamn detailing industry, the personal intake. I feel this, I think this. No. Science, people. I need science. I cannot make coatings any better if you don't have scientific proof. I feel it's less rigid. I feel it's smoother. How much smoother? 10%, 5%. How did you achieve this? Did you put any topping products on? Are you using a drying aid to destroy our ceramic? All these things, all these factors and variables. I believe we will never get to a standardization that is going to be
dependable.
That's scientifically reproducible. Yeah. Because again, even if we find that test method, then we have to do every single environmental area thinkable, take the average from that, and then we'll still be in a plus minus ballpark number that is
and
possible
I said
to
it
create.
before, and I will repeat it. What I think should happen is there should be a scale on every bottle of every protective product from any brand on the world where it says, is it a short, a mid, or long-lasting product? And that's it. That's all there should be on it. Yeah. Because with that, I can work.
Yeah,
there will be products which last a short amount of time, and with short, we mean on average, on an average daily driven car, I mean up to 1 month. That's what I mean by that. Then you have the mid ones, which are a couple of months, and then you have the long-lasting ones, which have the potential under perfect circumstances to last a few years. That's it. I would do nothing more. And you know what the beauty would be? If every company would be forced to do that, they would need to focus on other things than durability.
Oh, definitely.
I think the industry would be in a better place when they stopped worrying about those single-digit numbers, because all the companies would use the same scale, and they would focus more on things like ease of use.
Yeah.
Because there is a difference in ease of use between different coatings.
Absolutely.
They would be forced to focus on which ingredients can I use or are allowed to use to achieve those results. The industry would be in a better place.
Yeah,
if we
I would
did
rather
that.
see a competition going on between each other to make the best ceramic, taking each other as the base. Okay, we have found now that today CarPro has the greatest ceramic in the world. This is our benchmark. This is what we're going to put, and we are going to try to achieve the same or better.
With less harmful ingredients, for example.
Exactly. And then that coating is going to be produced. Then CarPro says, okay, we're going to start the fight again. Not making cheaper, faster, more lying-based coatings, but make real,
tangible, better products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get the same what you get in the car industry. In the car industry, there's also the battle for who made... The 90s, for example, I'll take the German example for the three greatest limousines ever built in the history of mankind. The Audi A8 D2, they are not in order of the number ones, but those three. The BMW E39 7, is that the one I'm saying? Yeah, the E39 7
That's
series.
a 5. E39
I'm
is
sorry,
a 5.
then I'm the 36 7, or the 90, at least that 90s BMW 7s.
Yeah.
And then the Mercedes S-Class from that era.
Yeah.
If you look at those cars, if you see how much they are still driving today, and then nothing is squeaking, beeping, and and cracking and everything, those cars were built to be the best against each other. The best materials, the best drivetrains, the best. And these days, please, it's like a joke, the plastic fantastic car. Come on.
And
Every real car.
you know what? That's a perfect ending of the podcast, because our goal with this podcast is we start with a controversial topic, we give you our opinion on it, we try to explain everything in an objective way, in a scientific way, and we try to always end with a positive and an idea on how we think the industry could be made a better place. And I think we just did. Yeah, we gave an idea on how to make it better.
The detailer needs to tell, if you start by thinking that the manufacturer is already lying to you, if you assume that's already lying, and you say, okay, these are 100% they are liars, I'm now going to try this product.
Or it is at the very least a stretch.
Yeah, so I'm going to try it, and I'm going to try to confirm this. I'm not going to try to disconfirm this, I'm trying to confirm that what they are saying is true. And if you then find out that it's total bullshit, take back what happened with Cerakote. Because of all the reactions of the people, they are now forced to change something to make it more. So instead of letting them choose what they are going to make, same with us, if you write stuff to us that says the application is too difficult, the duration is too short, there's stuff we can work with. If you keep translating the promises that we make to the customers and we don't get any feedback that our lies or our generalization of the data that we make is not true to the real world, we can't change. So
yeah,
we
but
need
you know
the
what?
feedback.
You know what? You as manufacturers, you're covering your ass on that. Because if you want to test a detailer your claim of an 8-year durability, it will take 8 years to confirm that. Yes. And in 8 years, you will have come up with 5 new versions of your coating, so you're covering your own ass on that. So it's impossible to independently test those claims.
I will say, that's why I always say mileage is easier achievable than years.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
Yeah.
And it is more realistic and it's easier achieved. 30,000 kilometers in 1 year or 20,000 miles in 1 year is very, very easily achievable.
Yeah. And the last tip I want to give you, use common sense. Please. Reggie always says common sense is something that's dying, but use common sense. If a manufacturer, and again, I have no fear of telling names, if a manufacturer like Swiss Wax is claiming that a wax, a carnauba-based wax with natural ingredients is lasting 2 years, you already know that it's nonsense. You don't need to test that. You already know it's nonsense. If a manufacturer like Masterson's promises you that a water-based spray sealant is a ceramic coating that lasts 2 years, you already know it's nonsense. Please, to those manufacturers, please stop it. Please stop it. All you do is create insecurity with professional detailers and customers. Please stop it. So not only you as customers and professionals use common sense, but please, manufacturers also use common sense.
A little bit more.
At least a little bit more.
Every step forward is a step forward, moving in the right direction.
I have no issues with you claiming it's a long-lasting wax. That's okay, because then it's free to the imagination what that means.
Absolutely.
But please don't state a carnauba-based wax lasts 2 years. It's just, it's the same as if Dacia would introduce a 10,000 euro car and stating it will be as quick around the Nürburgring Notschleife as a Bugatti. It just isn't possible.
It would be a show, though.
It would be a show, but please stop it. I cannot tell you how much I hate those promises. Okay, good. I think we ended on a high note there.
Yeah, I feel a lot better. Seeing we have a chip off my shoulder, I feel a little bit more relaxed.
Okay, I will make you less relaxed now, because you can tell the people what the next topic will be. The one we already told them in the last episode, and then you switched to the topic of this one.
Great.
The next one will be
why America, or the United States, or North America, is not the leading detailing nation anymore, if it ever was. Then we will definitely going to talk about that.
That will be a really controversial one, where we'll use about 50% of our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, if not everyone.
We have quite a few from the US, actually.
Yeah, well, it's good to know that everything needs to be open for discussion. And some statements have made in podcasts stating that some countries don't have a very big detailing following. What a utter most stupid lie I've ever heard, not knowing the country where you've ever been, and I've seen these things. So what people think is the leading country, or what actually is the leading country.
That will be a good one.
That's going to be fun.
And I can tell you, at least Reggie has a very unique perspective on that, and can tell you a lot of examples there.
Let me see which countries, because I have been to UK, Germany, Italy, Japan, Korea, America, and South Korea, and I've been to Vietnam, been to India, been to China, been to Moscow, been to Saudi Arabia, Qatar.
Exactly. I can tell you that will be, at the very least, it will be an interesting episode to hear stories from those countries.
Definitely.
Good. To the viewers who watched the video, thank you very much for watching. To the listeners of the podcast, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. We definitely did.
Yes.
Even if we had...
If you are depressed after this episode, sorry for that. I feel a lot better, so...
Good one. Good one.
Good one.
Reggie, thank you very much.
Thank you, Andreas.
And I hope to see you and hear you the next time. Bye.
Ciao.